Hey everyone. So if you've known me long or followed me on my website or social media or anything like that long in the much in the past, you know that one thing that I've talked about in the past a lot is security. Um, so I thought it might be a good idea to bring up some more topics about security. Um, you can never be secure enough with your customer information, with your own information, with anything. And and I know that one of the growing problems with security these days is is passwords. You know, people create new accounts on websites on a weekly, monthly basis. And the number of websites that we have to keep up with and that we have accounts on is just over the top nowadays. You know, I probably have, oh man, I don't know. I probably have hundreds of passwords on different accounts. And there's different ways that people manage this. And, a lot of people will, uh, will use the same password um, on everything. Uh, that's a horrible idea. So um, don't do it, because that's how hackers, you know, uh, will hack you. You know, they figure if they're able to figure out one password, or if one gets leaked or anything like that, then they'll immediately go to other popular websites and try that same password. And unfortunately, a lot of people have been hacked that way. Um, so so one of the safest things to do is have a different password for every single account that you have on the internet. Um, I know at that point you're probably thinking, well, what? How am I gonna remember all those passwords, right? Well, so here's the thing: passwords are a horrible security uh, mechanism for the internet. But that's sort of what we're still stuck with. There are new technologies coming out that may one day illuminate or get rid of those uh, passwords, and but I don't know if they're completely ready yet. One of them's called Squirrel by Steve Gibson. Uh, I think it's probably looking promising. Um, but I'm not going to get into all those details. For now, until we have something better, uh, it's recommended that you use a different password on every account that you have on the internet, and you use a strong one. Um, Obviously, the longer the password, the better. And they also recommend the more random, the better. Um, but even more importantly than randomness is length. So use a really long password. Some people use what they call passphrases, which are uh, would basically be like a sentence or something like that with some random characters mixed in here and there. Um, but that's what they do. So you basically have a long sentence or something like that with some random characters mixed in, and that would be your password for an account. But still, you're stuck with, using a different one of those for each of your webs or each of your online accounts across the internet. And so, how do you manage that? So, I recommend a password manager. That's what I use, because I'm not going to remember 100+ passwords. Um, I don't even know if I have that many, but I have a bunch. enough that I can't remember them all. So I use a password manager, and that's usually what I recommend because, you know, the good thing about that is you use the password manager to access your sites. You know, technologies like this Squirrel that I mentioned is going to be sort of along the same links, except for it's not going to be using passwords at all. It works completely different. Um, and it looks like it's going to be a good approach to authentication. But you know, I use one called right now. I use one, a password manager. I'm going to try Squirrel when it comes out and websites start implementing it. But right now I use a password manager. I use LastPass. LastPass encrypts your data and saves it encrypted. So it's encrypted on your machine, so none of your passwords actually go out over the internet. Or this is my understanding of how it works, right? So it's encrypted on your machine and is saved in the cloud encrypted. So that's kind of how it works, and a lot of the really good ones do that, I think. You know, LastPass, I use that. I think one password does the same thing. I'm not totally sure. But you know, if you start looking for one, definitely do that. So what you do, like with LastPass, is it will generate long, random passwords, and that's what I do when I create an account. You know, I have it generate my password for me, so I don't even know what my passwords are. I depend on LastPass to tell me or to log me in. They're long. I think 16, 18 characters at least in length. You can generate them even longer than that, and they're random. So they'll have a mixture of lowercase and uppercase, special characters, numbers, and you can even customize that. You know, because I've been to some websites that don't allow special characters. They'll allow like regular characters and numbers. So you can tell LastPass, you know, to only generate special characters and numbers. Now, well, that's sort of off topic, but if you're using a website that doesn't allow you to generate random strings, then it's probably not handling their passwords correctly. But I guess that's a separate issue. So, you know, and some websites don't. Some websites don't store passwords correctly, and that's how some of these websites have been hacked. I know that Adobe here a while back was, you know, several years back, wasn't storing their passwords correctly, and their website was hacked because of it, I believe. And there's been others. But you know, the proper way to store passwords is well known, and most good websites are implementing that process now. I think even Adobe is now. So anyway, that's it. Thanks.